one of the most horrific things you can do.
His life was taken in a senseless and brutal manner.
Horrific crimes left unsolved.
You know, you have a lot of different scenarios run through your head. Could it be this person? Could it be that person?
And families forever changed.
I was 13 when my mom passed away.
Just come and tell me what happened to my son. That's all I want to know.
We're sharing these stories hoping you can help us solve this unfinished business.
Any cold case can be solved. No one's perfect.
On this episode, we take a look back at the case of Rona Monison, an 18-year-old with a bright future whose life was cut tragically short. We're going back to the year it happened in 1972.
Thank you for being here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Rona Monis. She went missing 50 years ago, coming up on the 51st anniversary. To this point, she doesn't have any living relatives, but this case is still so important to our team here at HCSO and to you. Can you tell me a little bit about where this investigation is right now?
Being a case that old or something that happened yesterday, everyone's important. Every victim's important. Every case is important to us, especially when you start a cold case unit like we did here at the agency almost 3 years ago. Every case matters, and to the sheriff down to the investigators. Every victim is equally a victim, no matter if it happened today or 50 plus years ago. There's still a victim. Someone's life was cut short, and they didn't get to live the full extent of their potential based on the fact that somebody unfortunately murdered them.
And Rona specifically, this happened back in 1972. She was a college student down here. She had just moved to the area. Can you give me a little background about her and her family, and specifically that timeline of her going missing?
Rona was a only child to Israel and Annette Monoson. They were originally from Brooklyn. They moved to Long Island, New York. Rona graduated that summer from Freeport High School in New York, and like a lot of people do, when their child goes off to college, they move. So the family moved down here to Fort Myers that summer. She enrolled at USF to begin that fall semester. She was a typical freshman, 18-year-old, learning her way around a new place, a new school, meeting people, getting used to not being around a family. And unfortunately, within the first 2 months she was in college, this incident happened.
And the incident, can you go into a little bit of the timeline that you have of what happened? I know it was pretty tragic when they did find her, and a lot of people were concerned, reported her missing to HCSO in 1972.
Yes. On October 2nd of 1972, she got up like she did every day. She asked her roommate if she would take a ride with her because she had to get oil for her Chevy Impala. It was burning oil or leaking oil. So her roommate said she couldn't make it because she had a class. So Rona leaves at about 11 a.m. that day. She doesn't return. The roommate gets a little nervous. The next day, she's really nervous, and then she reports Rona missing. That's when it started the law enforcement and the school to the missing person, start searching for her and generating the missing persons report for her.
At this point, now that it's been almost 51 years, I think you mentioned before the family. They're no longer with us, but I can only imagine what that has been like and was like for them for years. Can you speak at all about that and the process of not just her case, but other cases not being solved to this day, how difficult that can be?
Well, for families, it's horrible. It's horrible when you lose any family member, especially a child. 18-year-old child should not be murdered. Nobody should get murdered. So, especially in this scenario where she was an only child, it was their only basically baby. The father in particular lived with this horror the rest of his life. That it was actually under his request that during his obituary that she was mentioned in his obituary. So, and he passed away 30, 40 years later. So it's hard on every family.
At this point in this investigation, where are you? What are the next steps to solving this?
Basically, we're doing a lot of forensic testing. To go back to the crime itself, she was found on, unfortunately deceased on October 5th of that year. So she was found 3 days later. She was found just modern day. There's a lot of new housing, a lot of new blocks and avenues and streets. She was just found north of where Bears and Boosby Downs meet. There's a lake that's still there that has a lot of houses behind it. She was found on that lake. At the time, it was owned by one family. They owned all the acreage up there. And the gentleman that owned that land was a gentleman named Charles Rozier Sr. He was walking his dogs, and that's when he found the victim and notified the police. Once they found her at this basically the parallel time, the same time they found her vehicle at the Green Tree Village Apartments. The car was legally parked and locked. They never recovered her keys, but based on the evidence at the scene, at least part of the homicide itself or the assault happened in the car based on crime scene, processed crime scene information.
So I have to ask at this point, is there a person of interest?
Yes, there is. There is. An individual that has become part of this case was an individual that lived in the area, and 3 years after Rona was murdered, this individual was arrested for raping and kidnapping an 18-year-old woman. And then 3 years after that, he was arrested again for a sexual assault and a kidnapping of a 10-year-old girl. It was the same area, the same MO, and he is currently serving time in jail to this day for those crimes.
And to finally get the justice for Rona that you've been searching for, that HCSO has been searching for over 50 years, what can the public do to help? What missing piece of this puzzle do you still need to find this justice?
Based on the fact that it was a lot more rural back then, the area around USF, it was the student population made up most of the population over there. We're looking for anybody that graduated, went to school with her, saw anything in the neighborhood back then. It was day when she left, and she, at some point, she came into contact with the subject of this investigation, and we want to see if we can find any witnesses. Anybody who went to school at that time, remembers her at that time, remembers any incidents around the school, any little bit of information could help us.
These cases aren't just stories, they're real lives and real people. Your voice could be the missing piece in this puzzle. If you have information on this case or any other, please contact the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office at 813-247-8200. To submit a tip anonymously, call Crime Stoppers of Tampa Bay. Join us next time as we continue our journey to uncover the truth and bring these families the closure they have been waiting for. Until then, stay vigilant and keep seeking justice for these families. Unfinished business.